G'day and welcome back to the channel. My name's Grant Frost and I'm an Australian musculoskeletal physiotherapist who's really passionate about better trying to understand the common root underlying causes of common aches, pains and dysfunctions. And in today's video, I want to talk you through the framework of how to permanently fix a neck hump. And whether you have neck pain or not, or whether just aesthetically you just don't want that neck hump to be there anymore, I want to discuss with you the underlying cause of why that happens and what you may need to change to give yourself the best chance of permanently helping that to go away. So let's get into it. So before we go down that rabbit hole, it's important to talk about what a neck hump actually is. And what's really interesting about a neck hump, or a Dowager's hump as we tend to call them, is that there is a certain level of hump that is normal. If you run your fingers down the back of your neck, very quickly as you get to the base of your neck, you will feel a bony prominence sticking out. Anatomically, this tends to be your C7 spinous process, or the one that extends out the furthest. And this is really important for potentially the main reason why you may have your Dowager's hump. And that is, typically, this part of your spine, it's often one of the most specific areas that we hinge through when we tend to look down day to day. And this is really important because one of the things we'll get to at the end of this video is the important role in changing either your environment or a certain behavior that you have around where you position your neck and head the most throughout your day. Because if we don't have a conversation about those things, then you may never get to the stage where this wants to go away because you don't give it an opportunity to. So what ultimately happens when we tend to look down and create a hinge through that junction is the weight of the head that sits on our neck asks more force to go through this isolated part of your spine. And as you may or may not know, the hump that develops is your body's reaction to that excess load. And typically that hump is more fatty tissue that your body lays down in an area of higher stress to help cope with that higher stress. And the Dowager's hump is a consequence of the positions and the shapes that you put that part of your spine into the most throughout your day. So in a way, the 4 or 5 mobility and strength exercises that we're going to get to in this video are really just an attempt to try and reclaim the function that you may have lost from being in a suboptimal position, most likely without even knowing it, over days, weeks, months, years, and even decades. And I think the first place to start is showing you some very simple techniques to improve the mobility of the joints of your spine, both your neck and upper back, to help your neck and upper back get into a more optimal shape throughout the day and clear up any hidden stiffnesses and restrictions that you may have accumulated without realizing leading up to this Dowager's hump. So if you're a subscriber of this channel, you'll know that one of the best ways that I've ever seen in my career as a physiotherapist to mobilize and restore normal motion to the spine is by using a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball or any other ball for that matter. It's a great diagnostic tool, it's very safe, but it's ultimately very specific and very helpful at allowing you to find where your hidden handbrakes are and respectfully asking them to release or mobilize or free up at the same time. So in the spirit of a Dowager's hump or a neck hump, what I'd like you to do is to take a ball. We can locate that bump that sticks out the most. Again, that junction between your C7 and your T1 level. We can start with the ball right on that bump in the middle, but then we want you just to fall off to the side so that you're on the joints. And from here, you can do this either lying down or sitting or standing up against a wall. Please choose the version of this that's the most comfortable for you. We're just off to the side to bias the joints. We're not trying to roll up and down. We're trying to locate an area that to you feels a little bit stiff, tight, restricted, harder, more dense than the other side. And all I'd like you to do, as always, is just to let the ball press in. Just give it a chance to sink through any tight muscle tissue. Give it a chance to start to bias some of the capsular restrictions in the joints of your spine. These things need a little bit of time to accommodate, whether that's 30 seconds, a minute, whatever you feel intuitively is worthwhile for you. And then from here, we want you to systematically and segmentally work your way up and up and up, and then down lower and lower and lower to about the midpoint of your shoulder blade or the midpoint of your neck. But ultimately, if you have a Dowager's hump or a neck hump, but you also have a really stiff neck or intermittent neck pain and symptoms as well, those things should hopefully start to improve before the visual aesthetic nature of your Dowager's hump improves as well. And then following on from the ball mobility exercise, the second mobility drill that you can try is a very simple chin tuck. Clinically for me, I find the ball does such a specific job at mobilizing the areas that need to be mobilized that if you did your ball exercise before your chin tuck, it should feel naturally a little bit better regardless. But on its own, the chin tuck can be a really helpful exercise at restoring some of the movement to stiff segments of your neck and upper back. You want to make sure that you're up tall into a nice posture. Sometimes it helps to have your hand with your finger pointed upwards as a reference point to where your chin is. And then what we can get you to do is we can get you to poke your chin out and then pull your chin back, ultimately trying to give yourself a double chin. Imagine that you're doing this on a horizontal plane. What we can also do is if you gently look up a little bit or you look down a little bit, you can bias different segments of your spine differently. So instead of being up tall, if I look up just a fraction and not trying to look up from the top segments of my neck, but look up from the bottom segments of my neck, I can then do a chin tuck from this position as well, just to add a little different flavor to that exercise. So again, you can look up, you can tilt your head to the side a little bit, you can rotate a little bit to bias different sides of the joint, but just have a play around to see which position that you can get into that feels like it's attacking respectfully some of the restricted joints and soft tissues of your neck. Do 10 to 15, have a break, do another set of 10 to 15. Ultimately, we want you to feel like your neck is a little bit looser and a little bit freer than what it was before you started. And then once you've played around with different mobility exercises, the second piece of the puzzle is we want to go looking for some strength exercises to make sure that you can tolerate some of the unwanted or unknown environmental loading that you may put through that part of your back and try and get your muscle tissue to do the work instead. So when turning our attention to strength exercises, there's 3 really simple exercises that you can do with the TheraBand that can help build more strength around the base of your neck, your upper back, and your shoulders to help make getting into a better posture more easy. And the first exercise are shrugs. And what we're going to do is get you to stand on the band, have enough tension on the band so you feel like it's challenging in some way, by having you up nice and tall with your shoulders back. And I like to have my patients' hands off the side of your trunk just to increase the demands at your shoulder and your neck in a good posture, keeping your elbows and arms straight. We want to imagine that you're bringing your shoulders up to behind your ears just to make sure that your shoulders aren't wanting to come forwards and facilitate that sort of rounded posture again. But shoulders back, hands away from your side, up nice and tall, shoulders up and down. What you should hopefully find is you'll very quickly establish some fatigue through your upper traps and other muscles as they anchor down into that shoulder. It should hopefully make it easier for you to maintain a good shoulder posture without letting them drop down. The second exercise is what we call a T or a horizontal shoulder extension exercise. Again, this is a nice one to do with the band, where we want to make sure that you grab the band, have your arms out straight, somewhere between your belly button and your nipple level. And what we want to do here is we want to make sure, again, good posture. We want you to imagine that you're wrapping your shoulder blades back around your back. And how that tends to look is if you're in a good posture, we're trying to pull those shoulder blades together as best as we can. Again, the goal here is to try and get those shoulder blades to come back, because when we lose good posture, apart from them dropping down, they also want to roll forwards a lot of the time as well. And then the third aspect of this is we want to go after the shape where your head tends to drop forwards by strengthening a lot of the neck extensors that pull your head back up. Again, we want to make sure that we can build more resilience, more endurance to these tissues, so you feel like you're not just defaulting back to this shape. You can hold yourself up in a better position for longer, decreasing the load through the base of your neck. And while a very simple way to do this would be to get down on all fours and just hang out here in this position in a good posture, obviously trying to avoid your head and neck dropping down, trying to keep it up, keep it horizontal, stay there for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, build up some fatigue through those muscles. And where the band comes into it, what we can do instead here is if we tie the band just lightly to the rack here, obviously make sure that you secure it enough that it's not going to come off. We don't want a band slapping you in the face when we do this. But what we can do here is we can take a regular band, place the band behind your head at about eye level, Again, maintaining a good posture, shoulders back as well. You can take a gentle step back until you feel enough tension trying to pull your head down. Same deal again, we don't want you to lose this position and drop your head down. Make sure you're up nice and tall, shoulders back. We can stay here for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever you feel it takes to fatigue the musculature down through your neck and upper back in this way. Alternatively, if you are lucky enough to have something like the iron neck, where you can strap this device onto your neck and head, again, have it pulling at the right height. We are again using resistance to strengthen the muscle tissue of our neck, hopefully changing the way that we load up our neck, make it a more general loading rather than an isolated load from being down in this position. So once you spend some time fatiguing some of the muscles that may help you A, maintain better posture, and B, reclaim some of the function you may have lost from being in a suboptimal shape, we need to have a very mature and reasonable conversation about your postural habits, the positions that you might be getting into. If we are to truly understand both why this has happened to you and what you need to do to give yourself the best chance of permanently fixing a Dowager's hump. So once you feel like you've mobilized your neck and upper back and you're working on fatiguing some of the muscles that contribute to better neck posture and function, the third piece is what we alluded to at the start of the video, where we need to have a very reasonable, all-encompassing conversation about the postures and the shapes that you're putting that part of your body into the most throughout the day. Because again, if you have a neck hump, through no conscious fault of your own, you have unknowingly asked that to develop by creating an unnecessary loading point through your spine that otherwise shouldn't be there. And for me clinically, when we're trying to understand what particular shapes and postures are the most relevant to you specifically, as I mentioned before in these videos, one of the most beneficial ways to figure this out is to take a step back and just consider the things that you do most throughout your day. That can be something like how you sit on your laptop, how you sit using your phone at night, how you look when you're reading a book. If you're someone who loves to do arts and crafts, if you do puzzles or drawing or knitting or anything like that, and the net result is that you create this consistent hinge through the base of your neck, then we want to pay attention to those situations. We want to rank them from the things that you spend the most time doing down to the things that you spend the least time doing, because intuitively it makes more sense the longer you spend doing something, the more likely it is to create a problem if you're doing that dysfunctionally. You'll very quickly start to encompass a lot of the things that you may not necessarily have felt were relevant to your neck hump, but based on what we've talked about already, may suddenly become a crucial part of the conversation to change if you want this to go away and stay away forever. If you're someone that likes to sit up in bed and read at night, it might be easier for you to lie down in a neutral position with a pillow and read in this position instead. If you're someone who is a chef or you spend a lot of time working at a checkout, we're always looking down, doing things with your arms and hands and fingers. It might be easier for you to widen your stance a little bit, to drop your center of mass down, essentially raising things up a little bit higher than what they were before, if you can't obviously bring them closer up to your eye line naturally. But for me, clinically as a physiotherapist, this is potentially the most important thing for you to consider. Beyond any strength work, beyond any mobility exercises, those things will make a great difference on the symptoms that you've accrued. If you don't change the way that you think about the shapes and the things that you do the most, you'll always have to keep doing the mobility and strength exercises because the situation that you're unknowingly creating for yourself is asking for that to be there. So as always, I genuinely hope that that was helpful. If it was, let me know by leaving a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you found this information valuable and you want to learn more about these types of issues. Please consider leaving a super thanks if you want to support me and help this channel continue to do what I'm trying to do. But as always, thank you again for watching. I hope it was helpful and hope to see you next time.